Hi, welcome. Today I'm working on my 2005 Chevy Colorado, rebuilding the front end. I will be replacing the wheel hubs, ball joints, tie rod ends, and the half shafts. So let's get to it. The first step is to take off the wheel. Remove the hubcap. And while the truck is still on the ground, you can loosen the lug nuts and the wheel nut. I take the wheel nut completely off at this point. Jack up the truck and place it on jack stands. Now finish taking off the wheel. With the wheel removed, we can begin removing the brakes. The caliper comes off first, and I recommend getting a strap or something to hold the caliper rather than letting it hang by the brake hose. Remove the caliper bracket and the brake pads. Oops, I just dropped it. Since we are replacing the wheel hubs, it is best to loosen the 4 bolts holding the wheel hub to the knuckle while still on the truck. Remove the splash guard to access all the anti-skid wiring and the connector for the anti-skid. The connector is at the back of the wheel well. Remove the connector from its mount and disconnect the wire. Now remove the wire from all of its mounting points down to the wheel. Since we are going to be replacing the ball joints, I find it best to put a bottle jack underneath the lower control arm. There are several times during the procedure that you will need to adjust the control arm up or down to get things where you want them, so it's very handy to have the bottle jack. Next, unbolt the ball joints from the control arms. I did the bottom one first, removing the 4 bolts, and switching to the top, removing the 3 bolts. You will need to disconnect the tie rod. I found it easy to do. Just remove the nut, then use a hammer to ping on the joint a little bit. And since we are changing the tie rod end, it is okay to hammer on the end. The wheel hub and knuckle assembly is now ready to be removed. Again, I found this assembly came off easily. With that assembly off, you can remove the half shaft. If it is being hard to release, you can use a chisel at the inner end to release it. Mine came out with just a couple of jerks. Now we turn our attention back to the wheel hub and knuckle assembly. We need to remove the ball joints, and again, I didn't find this very hard to do. Just unscrew the nut and use a hammer to ping on it and hit it out. My truck is a 2005 and the ball joints have never been changed before, so I was surprised that they came apart easily. Since we are replacing them, it is okay to hit on the threaded end of the ball joints. I removed the bottom one first and then did the same for the top ball joint. There are 4 bolts that hold the wheel hub to the knuckle. We loosened these bolts while still on the truck. Make sure they are good and loose. You can hammer on the end of the bolts to help dry the wheel hub out of the knuckle. Once the wheel hub separates, you just have to bring the knuckle out and over the anti-skid wire. Likewise with the dust shield. The next step is to remove the brake disc from the wheel hub. The easiest way to do this is with an impact driver, which is what I did. If you don't have an impact driver, you will need to find a way to hold the hub while loosening the bolts. And finally, we can completely remove the tie rod end. Just be careful to leave the locking nut where it is so you can get the new tie rod end back in the same place. I do recommend that following this procedure, you have an alignment done on the vehicle. Well then, now the fun stuff, putting it back together. You should have your new wheel hub with a brake disc attached and torqued. Turn the wheel hub assembly over in order to install the knuckle. First, install the brake dust cover. Carefully thread the anti-skid wires through the dust cover, being careful not to put undue strain on the wire. The dust cover is on the front side, which is where the tie rod connects. Now you are ready to install the knuckle. Again, carefully thread the anti-skid wires through the knuckle. The knuckle will only align one way with the bolt pattern. Install and torque the 4 bolts holding the wheel hub on the knuckle. After attaching the knuckle, I checked underneath to make sure it was evenly and fully seated with the wheel hub. This is a good time to attach the metal bracket on the anti-skid wire to the knuckle. This will prevent putting undue strain on the wire connected to the wheel hub during the installation. I think it is easiest to install the new ball joints directly to the control arms. They both point down, so bolt and torque the new ball joints to the control arms. The half shaft is next. I put a little oil on the end of the half shaft and then carefully insert it, being careful not to damage the seal. Give it a firm push to make sure it is captured by the clip. I didn't install a new seal as mine was fine, but consider installing a new one if needed. With the half shaft in, you can install the knuckle and wheel assembly. Just lift it into place and insert it over the end of the half shaft and align it with the splines. Then connect it to the ball joints. I found it easiest to connect it with the lower ball joint first and then get the top. I did raise and lower the control arm with the bottle jack as needed. Once connected to the ball joints, put on the nuts and torque them down. Now you can remove the bottle jack. These are the easiest ball joints I have ever replaced. Time for brakes. Install the brake caliper bracket along with the brake pads. While doing this, I noticed the wheel nut and washer, so I installed it finger tight. It will be tightened later. Now on goes the brake caliper. Turn your attention now to the anti-skid wire. Route it along the upper control arm and insert the clips. Remember, the connector is at the rear of the wheel well. Make that connection and mount the connector back in place. Now reinstall the splash shield. If you need to replace some of the little push connectors, they are available at many auto parts stores. Take one as an example and match it up. I had to replace some of mine and easily found a direct replacement. Install the new tie rod end. Hopefully you left the locking nut in place so you can install the new tie rod end close to the same position as the old one. In my case, the new tie rod end came with a castellated nut and cotter pin. Install the cotter pin after torquing down the nut. Boy, hey, we're just about done. Time to put the wheel back on. I tighten the lug nuts as much as possible with the truck off the ground. Remove the jack stand and lower the truck. Now is the time to final tighten the lug nuts and the wheel nut. Finally, install the hubcap. Done. The other side is the same thing all over again. I did take my truck in for an alignment. I am very impressed with the difference this made in the truck. It drives and handles just like new. The total cost of the job was about $320, including the alignment. I really hope you enjoy doing your project. I found it fairly easy to do, just a little persistence. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Also, feel free to message me. I answer all the messages that I get. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye.